Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Erin and team, for having me here again to speak today. If you joined in last week, you know that I talked about NJBIA's Future of Work study. This Indicators of Innovation report was the second major priority for NJBIA in 2020. So my two major issue areas at NJBIA that I focus on are workforce development and innovation, and how we can marry those two very different issue areas together and merge them. So before I get into the presentation, Secure, you can go to the next slide. I just want to caveat that because of everything happening economically with COVID, unfortunately, the data that we study is slightly delayed. And so the economic impacts that COVID is currently having on our economy is not reflected in this report. So it will be reflected in future years to come. So in the days of Thomas Edison, as was mentioned before, Nikola Tesla and Alexander Graham Bell, the Garden State was framed as the Silicon Valley of the East, acting as a model for growth and innovation that other states should mirror. Today, New Jersey is at a crossroads. The state possesses all of the qualities that we need to reinvent and grow an innovation ecosystem, including an ideally centralized location between New York and Pennsylvania, nationally recognized K-12 education, #1 for the second year in a row, quality higher education institutions, and a highly educated, highly skilled workforce. New Jersey has the capacity to be an innovation leader once again, but we're currently not capitalizing on our substantial assets and also addressing existing obstacles. So NJBIA, specifically myself, has spent years studying what it takes to recreate an innovation ecosystem. We started doing our research back in 2017, and it really stems from the idea of, okay, if we want to create an innovation ecosystem, where are we currently? And so we understand what our baseline is and how we move forward and how we can grow. So we essentially identified 3 major categories that it takes to recreate an innovation ecosystem, and that is capital, talent, and business. So our study identifies 12 indicators that fall within those 3 specific categories, and then we compare how we rank in New Jersey compared to the rest of our region. States are scored from 1 to 7, 1 being the least competitive and 7 being the most competitive. NJBIA is not trying to identify what is the most important component. And basically in our study, we say they're all equally as important. And so we don't weight our analysis. In total, a state could earn 84 points, and a score of 84 would mean that you earned a score of 7 or are the most competitive in all 12 of the indicators. So before I jump into all 12 indicators, I'm going to give you the overall analysis first, so you understand sort of where we're going. As you can see, New Jersey ranks in the middle of the pack, and you're going to hear me say that on repeat for most of this presentation. Massachusetts, New York, and Pennsylvania, again, ranked as a more competitive innovation ecosystem than New Jersey. When we originally did the report in 2019, this is our second year that we're doing it, Maryland actually ranked above New Jersey. However, New Jersey shifted places with Maryland in this year's analysis. Okay, so category 1, we focus on 4 indicators, and that is venture capital investment, assets under management, SBIR, STTR award obligation, state R&D expenditures, and National Science Foundation award totals for all groups. I will caveat this with, this is a ton of information. The report is 44 pages long, and I'm giving you the very brief 15-minute overview. So we can drop the link in the chat, and you can get a way more in-depth analysis of everything that we are about to go over, including tying it all together and 10 recommendations that we set forth for state government. So venture capital, assets under management, New Jersey falls in the middle of the pack. We scored a regional score of 4. As you can see, New York and Massachusetts just completely dominated the industry with over $57 billion in investment in 2019. SBIR, STTR award obligations. Again, New Jersey earned a regional score of 3, ranking us in the middle of the pack. As you can see, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York, and Massachusetts all earned more SBIR, STTR award obligations than New Jersey did in 2019. New Jersey had $38.2 million in award obligations. State R&D expenditures, New Jersey again ranks in the middle of the pack with a score of 4. However, it's extremely noteworthy to say here that New York is an extreme outlier, and they invested $450.2 million in 2018 alone into their R&D expenditures. That is more than all 6 states in our region combined. In total, those other 6 states invested $265.2 million. National Science Foundation award totals for all groups. That includes our institutions as well as small businesses that are seeking these kinds of funds. New Jersey ranked in the middle of the pack with a score of 3, but as you can see again, Massachusetts, New York far outweighed the group in terms of investment, and as well as Maryland and Pennsylvania. New Jersey earned $138.8 million in investment in 2019. Category 2 is talent, and we focused on the number of institutions ranked in the top 100, the net migration of first-time degree-seeking undergraduates, percent of the population with a graduate or professional degree, and the rate of new entrepreneurs. This specific category is what makes NJBIA and myself really excited that the community colleges are focusing on innovation as one of their career pathways. We advocate for lifelong learning, stackable credentials, and we are really excited to see that the community colleges are going to help develop a pathway that hopefully gets students to stay in New Jersey, add to their educational enhancement, and also increase the rate of new entrepreneurs. So this is a 2020 statistic, and in 2020, according to the US News and World Report, New Jersey had 4 institutions that were ranked in the top 100. That was Princeton University, NJIT, Stevens Institute of Technology, and Rutgers University, New Brunswick. The regional score for this, again, New Jersey's in the middle of the pack with a score of 4. However, what I would like to point out on this slide is Massachusetts. What makes Boston, Massachusetts have a fantastic innovation ecosystem is their ideally centralized location of their institutions. Obviously, this isn't something that New Jersey is going to be able to mirror in the sense that in Boston, Massachusetts, there's 7 of those 10 institutions are ranked or are located within a 10-mile radius of each other. And 2 of those institutions happen to be MIT and Harvard. So some of the best education in the country located very close together, and what that's doing is spurring competition and helping to drive their innovation ecosystem. So Boston, Massachusetts is good to look at as a best practice, but not necessarily something that New Jersey is going to be able to mirror exactly. Net migration of first-time degree-seeking undergraduates. So what this specific statistic looks at is how many students come to New Jersey for their college education and how many students leave New Jersey for their college education. This is right after they graduate high school, they're first-time degree seekers. And what we found was New Jersey is not only the worst in our region, but we're also worst in the nation. In the fall of 2018, we had a net loss of over 28,000 students. Percent of population with a graduate or professional degree. New Jersey, again, middle of the pack with a score of 3. 16% of our population has a professional or graduate degree, compared to Massachusetts, over 20% of their population has a graduate or professional degree. I just saw in the chat, they all moved to Pennsylvania. Yeah, so the statistics from the National Center for Education Statistics show that our 2 largest states that outmigrators go to is Pennsylvania and New York. So rate of new entrepreneurs, New Jersey's doing really well in this statistic for 2019. We ranked first in the region, earning a score of 7 points. This is the only indicator where New Jersey actually ranks first and shows that New Jerseyans have heart. Category 3, business. So the number of patents granted, rate of new employer actualization, net business growth, and business tax climate. So in 2019, New Jersey again ranked in the middle of the pack, earning a regional score of 4. We had over 8,000 patents granted in 2019. However, again, sticking with the trends of the rest of the report, New York and Massachusetts dominate the region again with over 15,000 patents each. Rate of new employer business actualization. So this statistic is really interesting when you marry it to the rate of new business entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs are, we have an idea, we want to try to start a company. The rate of business actualization then says, okay, how many of these businesses actually made payroll within the first 8 quarters of their founding? What we found here is that despite ranking number 1 in entrepreneurs, we rank again in the middle of the pack, scoring a regional score of 4 in terms of transitioning into paying some payroll. Net business growth in 2018, New Jersey ranked 2nd in the region. We had a net growth of over 1,400 companies. Only state that did better than us was Massachusetts, and they had over 3,000 new businesses in 2018. This statistic, however, doesn't tell the whole truth. If you look at the data dating back for the last 10 years, New Jersey is the only state in the region to actually have 6 years of net business loss, meaning more businesses closed or left New Jersey than came to or grew in New Jersey. And again, all of this is in the report. And again, business tax climate, this is the second indicator where New Jersey not only is a regional outlier, but a national outlier, and we scored a regional score of 1. For the last 10 years, New Jersey has ranked 49th or 50th in terms of our business tax climate. And this is extremely important when considering that large corporations often are the funders or the competitor drivers for these small startups. So again, I will show you what the total looks like, very consistent with New Jersey falls in the middle of the pack. So in conclusion, to recreate a successful innovation ecosystem, New Jersey identified 3 major drivers, that is capital, talent, and business. We rank in the middle of the pack except for 2 key indicators, and that is the net migration of first-time students and our business tax climate. We have set forth a slew of recommendations to help identify how we can start moving those historically negative trends for New Jersey in a more positive direction. And it's not that we're saying we need to be number 1 in everything, but if we're able to address where we are both regional and national outliers, hopefully we should be able to make a difference and recreate New Jersey's innovation ecosystem. So with this comparative data in hand, New Jersey leaders must strive to increase our state's innovation score to increase or recreate our innovation ecosystem. And if you have any questions, this is my email and my personal cell phone. You can also, we'll send the link out to this PowerPoint. The link for the entire report is listed there as well.